activists can only be as strong as the money they're able to raise and the money they're able to put towards these strategies in large form. With such volatile performance this year, do you think they'll drum up enough interest to really put money to work in significant campaigns through the next year?
Yeah, great question, Sonali. Well, we've definitely seen the impact of COVID. If we look at the new campaigns that were initiated in March and April, it's 54% down compared to the prior 6 months. And we've seen very little sort of activity in the public markets that you would associate with activism, proxy fights, poison pen letters. So we're definitely in a quiet, sort of subdued period for activism. And unless the market picks up, this trend is going to continue, which, as you point out, could make it challenging for activists to raise new funds in the near term.
Jim, I'm actually surprised at how much activity there is, given that people can't move around. The market has fallen out of bed. It's very difficult to ask companies to do anything other than survive in this environment in some ways. So to me, it's almost surprising. What are the most interesting campaigns that are ongoing to you, and for what reason?
So, but you're right to point that out. I think a lot of the activity is with respect to not new campaigns, but with respect to existing campaigns where activists are sort of doubling down and either try to resolve them through settlements or just remaining very focused on where they do have investments made. I mean, what I'm watching very closely right now is who are the new entrants coming into activism. And there are different players at the table in the campaigns we're seeing. There are, individual investors, family offices, hedge funds who we were unaware of that would have an interest in engaging in activism. We're also watching what's particularly interesting is the pipe market. So for every one of these situations where companies are out looking for capital and traditional sources are closed, whether that's government support or the leverage loan market, equity capital markets, there is a lot of behind-the-scenes conversations taking place right now around pipes. You've seen some pipe activity taking place with the traditional activists, but also around that are private equity firms, traditional institutional investors. So I think the most interesting thing we're going to see over the next couple of months are direct investments in public companies who need to shore up their balance sheets.
Jim, what does that mean? Because you've been expecting private equity firms for a while to play a much larger role in activism. We've seen them get more involved in public companies, but are you saying that the deals that are being done today at kind of these more distress-like levels in times that they really need the money and need to turn to private equity, are you saying that there might come some strings attached with those deals later on?
Yeah, it's going to be different. I mean, I haven't, what we've seen so far is just the level of inquiry go up by 2 or 3 times. So situations where, which would have been dominated by activists or traditional capital market solutions, are seeing a lot more inquiry coming in from the large private equity firms. We'll have to see how it plays out. Maybe later in the summer, in the fall, we'll see announcements around these deals. But the level of inquiry is the highest I've ever seen it since we've started to track this trend. And you're absolutely right. I think the demands are going to be higher.
So, Jim, you mentioned family offices getting involved. That means billionaire activist investors. I mean, we've seen some large firms already do this with large billionaire founders. What family offices in particular are starting to embrace the strategy?
I can't comment on any in particular because of our involvement in the market. I can just confirm for you that we're watching the trend closely, and there are definitely new faces at the table.
Yeah, and Jim, if I can just pile on and make you squirm even more, talk to us about the likes of David Einhorn, for example, whose positions are, really just in the toilet for, the most part, and also Bill Ackman, who seems to be getting very busy in China when it comes to fast casual.
Yeah, I think definitely some of the major activists have taken some significant hits, and it's going to take time to see, and particularly when we see the 13Fs come out in a couple of days, time to see what the long-term impact is. But I mean, if you're an activist right now looking at the market, you're seeing a ton of volatility, a lot of uncertainty about how deep this crisis is going to be. You don't want to appear to be tone deaf by taking on companies that are fighting for their survival. And, frankly, I think what might be revealed by the 13Fs is that a lot of the leading activists pivoted to other strategies, like credit strategies, where the ability to make money takes place over a much shorter period of time.